KTSM AM 690 Studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our various social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. This is an ever so slightly important day in our progression through the week because we have made it through this one, despite all the odds, despite the very many intense subjects, let's just say on the balance, that we get into here. But, well, there's more than we can ever even really get to, even with 2 hours a day. That's why we have this day, Friday, which we have, of course, dubbed Free for All Friday. We will be taking you all's comments and calls throughout the program here. So if you want to call in, chime in that way, 544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is one of the things we're talking about here. Already got some chiming in going on and dropping those likes and reacts, which we do appreciate, and a whole lot more that we'll be getting to, because it's not even just that we have that response open, getting to more of your comments and calls throughout both hours of the program here, but we'll also take on any subject here, so we will get to all of that here. Jay Visconti asking, why can't breastfeeding men step in to offset the baby formula shortage? I'm not even sure where to start with that one, my dude. But basically, okay, even if you're considering someone who has breasts as able to breastfeed, it, to my understanding, not possessing them myself, doesn't exactly work that way. It's not an on-demand kind of thing. So let's just leave it at that here. But that's the kind of stuff that we will get into here. Just remember to keep it as clean as possible in some cases, particularly if you're calling in. Again, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Beyond that point, though, because, yeah, I don't think we're going to, well, there's a phrase I want to use that I'm not going to here. That's not going to work to get our way out of this, I do not believe. But, of course, the pretty biggest news, I know that we do take on subjects from all across, well, anything, all of the subjects here today, but the one nationally, statewide, locally, one of the biggest ones, well, that's going on right now, of course, it definitely has local impacts. Title 42, with that expected end date coming, well, Monday of next week, has now, of course, within the last hour, a federal judge based out of Louisiana has ordered a stay on the removal of that policy. So, specifically, this is going to, well, okay, credit where it's due. Tony Gonzalez, the congressman, Republican, representing the Texas 23rd Congressional District, which does include an increasing chunk on the far east of El Paso, creeping into the actual city limits in at least a couple of places, as far as I'm aware. And so, yep, a lot of people bringing this up here. Maria Coleman saying, yep, Title 42 to remain in place for now, a stopgap, but not a solution. Pretty decent encapsulation there. Going to agree with you on that, because yes, it does stop it, though I gotta wonder for this area anyway if essentially the damage has been done. The real concern over all of this is because throughout all of the situations we have been talking about, we have been dealing with, of course, there are still many federal laws and federal agencies in place. Their effectiveness, yes, certainly reasonable questions to be raised, particularly the resource provided to the agencies in our area, but the marketing, that's in my mind what all of this comes down to, because if there wasn't some reason that people believe, the people making the trek from either Central, South, or America, or points beyond, there would not be this doing of it if there was not this sincerely held belief that there would be something waiting for it on this side of it here, something. And that is something that we very clearly and have talked about, that the cartels, coyotes, and human smugglers in general have latched onto. So this impending removal, I gotta wonder how much has already been said about that. We've been talking about ramping up levels as it is, but also how much saying that, well, it's not in place for now, if that's really going to, well, at the very least locally, going to change the situation, because I remain very skeptical that it will. Again, we have, some sown the lightning and now will reap the whirlwind on this issue, with there still being a lot of need locally for the response for the, I think as someone else said, RJ being proud of me for saying the right Gonzalez. Yes, we have been. Listen, we don't usually talk about the Gonzalezes, no relation that I'm aware of, in this close proximity to each other, because yes, the other big story of this week has of course been Tommy Gonzalez, the El Paso city manager. So forgive me for getting my tongue twister tied on this one here, so I appreciate the kudos. But yeah, Tony Gonzalez, the congressman, did, I think, call this one correct, that he's saying, nah, Title 42 is not going anywhere. Though I'm not sure that's, okay, I'm not totally accusing him of having a lackadaisical attitude towards it, but the lack of solution-oriented writ large, not necessarily blaming any particular person on this, but the fact that the whole lawmaker side of the lawmaking process, you know, those elected officials we send to those bodies that create the laws that are then supposed to, well, among other things, deal with these situations. The fact that we have not, I mean, seriously, even just the youngest whippersnapper wanting to make their bones and really get up and make a name for themselves, put forth a solution. Like, just do something. That's the part that continues to frustrate me. So sure, Title 42 in place, but again, Maria actually, again, very well encapsulating a stopgap, not a solution here. So yeah, it's still a little bit of a mess, even if going to remain in place for now. The long term, the over-under on this, yeah, some serious questions remaining in place. I mean, it was even expected right up until this hour, about, well, by my clock here, when we got the information in about 17 minutes ahead of us getting into our newsroom, that announcement from our regional national news partners, Governor Greg Abbott's office had sent out a new update on Operation Lone Star, specifically titled Operation Lone Star Mission Prepares for Mass Migrant Influx Ahead of Biden Ending Title 42 Expulsions. So there was still quite an expectation that this might be done. It's more kind of a laundry list, this specific release here, saying, listing out specifically recent highlights from Operation Lone Star, meets with Operation Agency partners ahead of the Title 42 ending, and all that kind of stuff here. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more to get into here, but as I have said, Friday is the day when we get into all of those calls here. So if you want to call in during the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We do have a call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Jerry, Northwest.
Hey there, Jerry.
Hey,
what's on
Andrew.
your mind?
Hi. Have you heard that the Biden administration is going to give up basically our rights to refuse a vaccine through the WHO, not the ban, the World Health Organization?
Mm-hmm. I think this has come up in. I think this has come.
That?
Yeah, I think this has been brought up in previous weeks as well by other callers, and yeah. Let me just say, I take this with the same grain of salt I see anytime I hear about it in previous years, different situation, obviously, when we're talking about the idea of there being, UN troops deployed, that kind of a thing. Like, yes, it's a level of concern that I would not think would be acceptable if to become to fruition here. But, I mean, the idea of there being any international agency coming in and superseding domestic control here, I almost don't care what any sitting president or other higher elected official does. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Sure, again, moving efforts towards it. We've had this more of a large conversation as well about even moving towards things, but the amount of uproar that would happen there, if they think that it's going to be something to just be swept in and dealt with and, oh, well, it's in place, can't do anything about it. Yeah, I don't see that ever happening. Even if they do want to put more of it in, there's more than a few people, and given the lack of popularity already for this administration, I don't think that even if there were a slim to none chance of something actually getting put into place, it would be in place for very long before people lose their minds, is the word I'm going to use here.
Okay, yeah, but that's basically on the same area of the ESG not going to occur, and then all of a sudden Elon Musk gets his Tesla company downgraded where it's not even on the NASDAQ anymore, or,
Right. Well, yeah,
so,
he's made some interesting business decisions here, but I'll delineate here in my conception of then ESG as you're talking about, because that is something being done, well, domestically, so to speak. that there are individual companies and particularly those ratings agencies looking at saying, okay, this is something we're going to bake into it in for, well, there's a lot of reasons you could argue that they're doing it, staying relevant, trying to increase their bottom line by saying people, you have to go with us to work on this. The Big Short was an interesting movie to look at, not totally related to this, but in the part where it talks about towards the end of it, the rating agencies themselves, because they, said, if we don't give them a good rating and do what they wanted to, they're going to go down the street to find the guys that do and accept their ratings and pay their fees. So it's a little bit interesting inside look, dramatized a little bit, obviously, on how that whole rating systems work. So yeah, I'll make a delineation between, the whole idea of the WHO coming in and ESGs, with the latter being very much more likely. And again, except for, certain state level efforts, including the state of Texas, seeming like we're going to see something of that implemented before, too long.
Well, yeah, I guess we could tell all those nurses and everybody and the soldiers and the sailors got fired. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay.
Well, okay. And again,
have a good one.
Sure thing.
Have a good one, Andrew. Thank you.
Sure
Bye-bye.
thing. Appreciate the point in the call there. Again, if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Again, I'll make a distinction between that as well on the people who got fired for not doing it. Okay, if you want to then draw a line to WHO control on that, I'll leave you to your opinion on that. But when you're talking specifically about the idea of ceding domestic authority entirely, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Yes, there have been agencies and places that have said, if you don't do it, you're not going to be employed here anymore. And that has its level of concern, though with the military. Again, full deference to those who have served, but a lot of those who have served who have told me about the fact that you have just this side of no bodily autonomy once you're in there. I mean, heck, there have even been arguments at certain points that you're not allowed to get tattoos because you are effectively defacing government property. Now, that may be more of a joke or not, but the amount of different vaccines like smallpox and so many more that you get, at least, friends in the Army, I'm thinking about specifically, who have told me about this and the big needles involved with that. Yeah, there's a level of, you're going to do it or you're going to leave the service, but that also happens a lot with the Army here. So not saying it's justified. I'm just saying it's somewhat closer to par for the course in that situation than, a whole lot of other more private citizen kind of things here. But that's just the start of what we're going to be talking about here today. Of course, we got a whole lot more to get into, only barely scratched the surface of this Title 42 situation. So we'll be getting to that a whole lot more, having to get more into the show here, that first break of the hour. So again, if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876 and 915-544-KTSM. A lot more comments, a lot more stuff, all the things we'll get to, as much as we can cram into 2 hours here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Free for All Friday is on deck. So get your calls and get your comments, and stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. If you're wondering about what you're going to be doing this weekend, I got a few good suggestions for you, including the Sun City Craft Beer Festival. And another good reason to go out and visit that is you'll be able to see our friends over with Enhanced Flavors, because they're going to be out there, part of the many bit of festivities going on Saturday and Sunday, and get to see their full selection and supply. And if for no other reason than that, yes, I'm going to be out there, A, working, B, for the beer, but definitely, it's not exactly an order of precedence here. The food and the offerings are also going to be pretty significant out there. So if you want to go and see their full selection, would fully recommend it, because seeing their 40 different varieties, 40 plus different varieties of extra virgin olive oils, flavored olive oils, and balsamic vinegars is quite worth the trip, almost on its own there. Of course, we'll have a lot of more stuff going on for you there at the Sun City Craft Beer Festival. But really, to make your life better, go and see their offerings and see what you can use for you and your family. So again, they'll be out there, and further events happening in the borderland. But again, this weekend, Sun City Craft Beer Festival. But always find them online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Expect delays on the border highway eastbound 375 at Padres Drive. A crash there has got the center and the right lanes blocked. Stay to the left. Gateway Boulevard southbound after Hondo Pass, an injury accident. Another crash with injuries Lomaland Drive south of the 10 Gateway. The crash is at Burnham Drive. And a crash with injuries on Edgemere Boulevard eastbound just east of the Joe Battle. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
It's $1,000 in your hand.
$1,000?
$1,000. No NFT. ESGs or ESGs. It's $1,000 straight to you.
That is awesome.
Listen every hour from 9 through 5 weekdays for your chance to win.
A brand in your hand is brought to you by Approved Auto. Drive out in your new ride in less than an hour. Get payments as low as $159 a month. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you got your license and you got a job, they smell a deal. The deals are sweeter at Approved Auto, 8498 Alameda.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Need to hire? Need Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, Old West collectibles, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on a lot of comments coming through there today because, well, there's just a whole lot we're discussing today. Again, today is the day when we'll take on all those subjects here with those open lines throughout the show here. So if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We have Calvin Williams, John Browson, and Flaco Jimenez, RJ, John Hertz, Dave Visconti, Catherine Cordry, Edgar Ortiz, and more on board, tuning in, chiming in. Mary comment a little bit earlier, dropping those reacts over on the Facebook page, which we do appreciate. This helps with all those algorithmic things and furthers our mission to continue having live local talk radio in the borderland and getting people in the conversation. That's kind of a key point here. Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez over there here. And yes, I still definitely appreciate the kudos for talking about the Wright Gonzalez's here. So yeah, again, Title 42, that was a call that I don't feel like it was too of a stretch. If these were Vegas odds, this would be pretty close to even, like 1.2 kind of situation on the idea that the actual implementation of the removal of it being blocked. But the actual impact we're seeing here in the borderland is a decent question. I want to clear up one thing. John Hertz making a comment here that illegals pour to American cities because cities like El Paso, getting my words straight here, are worried about how to give them food and transportation, not how to arrest them. Just want to clarify one part of the process here, because it seems like there might be a misunderstanding here. The people that are ending up going to, particularly the Annunciation House, those organizations, and that ended up spilling over, they have already been interdicted by federal authorities at that point. So if arrests are applicable to them, or if they're considered asylum seekers, initial screenings would have been done by that point. and then released. So you can certainly entitled to your opinion on how we're dealing with it, or just make sure you got it straight when you're talking about these situations, because the devil is always in the details when it comes to immigration and other situations. Related to that note here, there was one comment that came up yesterday, a call actually, right at the end of the program, asking about Switzerland and how, well, they deal with asylum and other related things. And so I looked further into it after the show here, and I was mildly mistaken, not entirely, but let's just say technically wrong in the spirit of how it's done correct, because, well, Switzerland does have asylum. But the key difference here is you must be present within Switzerland in order to apply for asylum. So say you were on some kind of mission from your country and were brought into the country and brought into Switzerland for some kind of event or what have you, and then said from there, oh, I'm applying for asylum because I can't return back. That kind of a concept, yes, that would apply. But as was mentioned, the border controls are very different in there, both just logistically and terrain-wise. So one thing that was brought up here, some more of the comments that are coming in here. Fogman is mentioning Alex Jones here. Someone's been listening to it. Not quite sure what that's in reference to, but John Browserton with a pretty relevant comment. The normal, I think you mean CBP agents, but in this case, they say they don't exist anymore. They're too busy working as taxi drivers for illegals. Yes, transportation and the movement around of them has been more than a little bit a serious issue in this region and the whole border sector. You could really analyze that as being because of the having to deal with that. And that's one of those strange bipartisan issues coming out of this here. We referenced, of course, that there was the news conference from El Paso Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, Democrat representing the Texas 16th Congressional District. Again, the 16th Congressional District being the edge of Texas here, and the majority of El Paso going from about the middle east side and bit of the mostly within the city limits to the far east of the county, and then the Texas 23rd Congressional District. In fact, I think we got that map up here that will just pop up ever so briefly to give you the very clear idea of how this works, because it's a good thing to keep in mind, particularly as we got those ideas of elections coming up, shall we say. In any case, I'll be talking a lot more about that here. So some of the stuff that we are looking at when it comes to, I'll get that map pulled up for you here in just a minute. Just got to find it where we have it, because where you're going to be voting is going to be important anyway. But yes, we have these two different congressional representatives talking about it in slightly different ways. And that's, again, an important distinction to make about who exactly is saying what and why and how. So have that up for you here in a minute. But as I've also mentioned, we do have those calls on the line here right now. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. I have a call on the line here right now. We'll get to, you're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Johnny.
Hey there, Johnny. What's on your mind?
I was wondering, when I listen to your channel and you advertise some kind of a show or something like that, like the gun show that's coming up.
Oh, yes.
I never hear the time.
Oh, okay.
So,
yes. Yeah, that's going to be the Las Cruces Gun Show, May 21st and 22nd, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sunday.
I see. Well, I had just missed it. You guys usually say that, or?
I want to say it's in there, but I'm usually preparing for the next segment when the commercials go by. But yes, definitely 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. either day, and then 5 p.m. on Saturday and 3 p.m. on Sunday.
I see. For example, back in the first started getting winter, they were having some kind of a festival downtown, and I took the bus down there to see it. And when I got there, no, it didn't start until 5:30, and I think I got there about 1:30 or 2. So just things like that are a little bit aggravating.
Fair enough here. So again, just make it fully clear, Las Cruces Gun Show that you have been hearing advertised on our air, absolutely. May 21st and 22nd, 9 a.m. open each day, closing 5 p.m. on Saturday and 3 p.m. on Sunday at the, former Barnett Harley-Davidson there at 2600 Lakeside Drive.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure thing. No, thank you for the point in the call. This is why we do this on these days here. You have a good one there. Appreciate it. Again, if you want to call on that number to do so on his own, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Flocka is referring to Alex Jones and the call about the WHO mandating the vaccination. I mean, strongly recommended, sure. That's I'm not surprised they are talking about this here. Catherine Codry saying that the WHO wants to be in control of the masses for the next pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to be in control of a lot of things, but we're more or less, in a lot of ways in this country, set up for that not to be happening. I think a slightly overlooked part of our system, because it has not been very much of a focus over these last decades, to be honest, has been on the idea of the whole federal system. Federal doesn't just mean that the ultimate power lies with the top of the heap, if you want to call it that way. It's often tempting to think of, you got your state, and on top of that, you got your local, and then on top of that, you got your state, and then on top of that, you got your federal as order of precedence. And technically, federal laws do have precedence, but they also have limited powers. Again, this is a conversation that we've been having a bit more over recent days and weeks about the Constitution and what it does or doesn't grant, is all entirely focused on essentially limiting the power of the federal, primarily with those 9th and 10th Amendments that I think people overlooked way too often because, well, they're not fun and easy to quote that often, but that's powers not granted to the federal, retained by the people or the state respectively. So there is still levels of power that exist below that, even if that has not been the focus or trajectory of national government. I mean, the centralization of power has been, I can't think of an administration, even going back in my lifetime, that has not had some aspect of that, because, well, let's just say we haven't had a lot of Cincinnatus in office lately. But that's just another thing to get into here. We'll get into this and a whole lot more due for that next break right now here already. Again, if you're wanting to call in during the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We'll get into that, play some of those clips that we definitely have for you going on right now here on Talk El Paso. So again, a lot of comments going on, a lot of ways to get at the show. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention plans to end Title 42 on May 23rd. Now, what started as an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19 across the border has turned into a fierce debate. Immigrant rights groups gathered in downtown El Paso yesterday. Many say the Biden administration has failed to overhaul the immigration system, and they also spoke out against Governor Abbott's stance on security at the southern border. Police are investigating reports of two men firing assault rifles near a park in Socorro. Police say the reports came in at around 1:30 Thursday afternoon. A pair of men were seen walking around Maro Rosas Park with rifles in hand. The men were seen firing multiple rounds into the air. The suspects did leave the scene before police could arrive. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Watch for a crash slowing your Friday afternoon traffic in El Paso on Border Highway eastbound at Padres Drive. That accident is blocking the two right lanes. Stay to the left. Gateway Boulevard southbound after Hondo Pass at Skyline Avenue. There's an injury accident. Lee Trevino northbound at Rojas. An accident reported, and an injury accident Pebble Hills Boulevard at Joe Battle. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. I hope you enjoyed the work week. Now, as we get into our overnight on Friday, winds will continue. In fact, they'll be gusty, especially for the east side, with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. Those winds should begin to die down by sunrise. But by the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday, those winds will pick up and become breezy yet again. Good news, though, with a cold front arriving this weekend, we can welcome back the mid-80s.
This report is sponsored by Brake Masters.
Quit staring at your phone. Just leave it alone and get the Brake Masters. Get your tires aligned, then get out there and see what you can find. Get your vehicle in Brake Masters shape today. Download coupons and schedule an appointment from your smartphone.
Brake Masters. We give you an honest break.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Spending time outdoors can improve overall health and wellness. Celebrate Earth Day and take advantage of nature's health benefits by visiting a local park. Recreate responsibly to protect yourself and others, and to make the outdoors safe and welcoming for people of all identities and abilities. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Finding a great hire can be a challenge. That's why there's Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 toward your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
Did a lawyer write the trust?
No, we wrote it ourselves.
Get a lawyer to write one, please, Tom. $400,000. Thank you. By the way, no, you know what? Do it yourself. Hey, have you ever had surgery?
I did it to myself last week.
That's exactly my point. Well said. Well done. Oh, that was my fault. Okay. Everybody has to call me back. I just hung up on everybody.
Handle on the Law, Saturdays at 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we got those phone lines open right now, so we will have it throughout both hours of the program. Again, facebook.com/Talk El Paso is the place to go to find out where we are and what we're talking about, as well as many other things, as well as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk on either of those here. So I promised coming up into this break that we would find that map I was referring to here to just remind you ever so gently of who your congressional representative may currently be, because this up on screen right now was the previous map of the both Texas 16th and 23rd congressional districts, respectively, in the kind of like tannish yellow and pink. I don't know why they chose these colors. These came from the state here. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I just try to duck the poo being flung. And this is the one, the next one to pop up here. This is what it currently is. So you may have seen some changes to where exactly you live and what it and then further represents here. So actually that one was the draft one. This was the final one here. Similarities, but still, seriously, differences that you will want to keep clear as you consider who is representing you and who you'll be voting for in these upcoming, well, not much on the primary ballot, but definitely on November, as all congressional representatives do go up here. But actually, as within the last few minutes, ever since we took this break, basically, right after, statement out from the governor's office here in Texas on the removal or lack thereof of Title 42, saying, quote, another federal court announced today that what we have known all along, President Biden is ignoring federal law with his open border policies, while today's court ruling rejecting President Biden's ending of Title 42 expulsions is a positive development. Hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants remain at our southern border, ready to flood into Texas. Texas will continue utilizing all available resources and strategies to prevent this mass illegal migration, including the deployment of Texas Department of Public Safety and Texas National Guard resources, the coordination with Mexican border governors, and the activation of the Joint Border Security Operations Center. We remain vigilant in fighting the lifting of Title 42 expulsions. So that is again, not at all too surprising. It's a very decently strong statement coming out from Texas Governor Greg Abbott's office on this situation. Again, all this stuff developing. I do not like using the phrase breaking news, but all this stuff is happening right before the show here. So we're going to be delving into it as best we can. I'm probably be getting more emails and more statements coming in as we progress through the through the program here. John Brownson making a on that map there. Please move the Cielo Vista area to the 23rd Congressional District. I think you missed your boat there. You're going to have to wait about another decade. Unfortunately, it is something that, well, get yourself appointed to some boards or really get in the ear of whoever's going to be representing us state house wise, because you got to remember they're the ones that set that for the next election in about 10 years here. So again, make sure to address that, stamp that envelope, and send it off courtesy of your elected representative in about 10 years or so. Anyway, other comments. Calvin Williams saying, like the fact that Title 42 doesn't apply to coming across the border. I mean, it does, though. It's not necessarily about anything to do with the actual act of it, rather presence in the country and therefore being removed from it. But something that also that has been pointed out, I mean, a lot of coverage happening on this in the very immediate sense. One of the other local bits on this, El Paso Matters, pointing out in their updated story as more information is coming in, that there is, well, limits to even what these immediate expulsions do. Kevin was clarifying to everyone coming across here. I mean, that is true. Yeah, it is an increasingly porous policy. So that is a decent clarification there. But also, it's even if there was to be completely enforced on this side of it, it still would have issues on the other side of it. I mean, Governor Greg Abbott mentioned some coordination with the 4 Mexico border governors here, to which have essentially agreed to do extra inspections on their end to, well, try to curtail smuggling, essentially. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's what it really comes down to. But as El Paso Matters notes out here, that the expulsions are usually just straight back across the border. But, of course, Mexico is not accepting everyone. I guess the best way to describe it would be somewhere in between a policy of what they used to and what was more or less in place during the Trump administration, because Mexico essentially tacitly previously would say, well, as long as you keep moving, you can go wherever you want, as long as you don't stop and stay, because, as has been very rightly pointed out, Mexico has actually pretty stringent immigration policies. Like, you have to jump through a lot of hoops that, yes, the U.S. does not have anything particularly comparable. I mean, I know that there's been some talk about the difficulty of green card residency and ultimate citizenship, but it's just ratcheted up to 11 once you're looking at the actual Mexican side of things. So again, the flip side of that being that, well, as long as you keep moving and don't stop here, we won't really interfere with you. So that was the kind of one extreme. And then under, well, the Trump administration, they were even enforcing their southern border, which was not a terrifically common practice before that point here. I mean, the entire reformation of the Guardia Nacional, the Mexican National Guard, into essentially a border security force was, again, quite the sea change that happened there. So what we seem to be in now is somewhere in between. It's not totally back to the, well, as long as you're not our problem, we won't stop you kind of mentality. But they have said very specifically, and in relation to Title 42, that they will not be accepting any other foreign nationals except from, well, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, which again notably leaves out Belize as, well, one of the bordering states to Mexico itself here. I'm not sure what that gripe or grief is, but that means that, again, El Paso Matters notes that many have been coming from South America, people crossing the border in the El Paso sector, specifically South America, Haiti, Turkey, and other countries. So that still leaves a question mark on its usefulness. Again, there is no one I am aware of that is arguing that, Title 42 is great. It is perfect. We need nothing else. Let's just keep this in place and the issue will be solved forever. Because as Calvin Williams pointed out, yeah, it does not apply to everyone coming across. I mean, it's been about 40% and change is the last stat I heard as of this week, ahead of this whole kerfuffle and culmination. Quite of a climax for the end of the week, with this judge ordering what he has out of Louisiana. Yeah, we got quite the issues and set to continue discussing here. So to that point, let's get back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We got a call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Ben on the east side.
Hey there, Ben. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to know, has any of our city leaders or county leaders or I'm sure our congresswoman will forget about it, reached out to Governor Abbott for help with with this Operation Lone Star? I mean, to your knowledge, has any of our local leaders reached out to Abbott to help?
Okay, I'll preface this by saying, to my knowledge, but in short, no. There's been a lot of talk about federal resources, but I mean, Operation Lone Star, kind of writ large, is not really active in this area. It's primarily in areas where the Rio Grande actually flows, among other things. I mean, the whole concept of boat enforcement has been one of a pretty key part of that here. But even beyond that, I know that, of course, Governor Greg Abbott came out here some weeks ago to talk with the Border Sheriff's Conference. and talked about within the state of Texas things being offered up for it. But yeah, just in short, to my knowledge, to my notice, to the things I'm getting sent, no.
Well, don't you think? I think a lot of people here in El Paso should call the mayor's office. Forget about Congressman, the Congresswoman Escobar. She's useless. But maybe ask the county judge, people like that, to help us with all. Maybe put some razor wire down where these people can't come across. Anything to keep them out of El Paso. They're doing a pretty good job. Not doing a good job, but they're doing a better, keeping some of the people from crossing over and down the lower Rio Grande Valley. Mm-hmm. So why can't we do something here if our city leaders and our county leaders would actually ask for it?
I mean, yeah, the short answer here again is that the process has been mostly focused on the federal, and actually a very relevant question coming in right now from James Radcliffe asking, is El Paso's immigration emergency order still in place? If you're referring to a previous one, I'm not sure about that, but if you're talking about the one that was being mentioned as potentially declaring that disaster declaration from the city and the county, that has actually not been ordered yet. A few local outlets quoting a story out today, I believe, from the New York Post, quoting them as saying, we actually backed off. The mayor and I backed off. El Paso County Judge Ricardo Samaniego is quoted as saying, so there is not a declaration disaster as of yet because, well, he goes on further to say that there is the ability to fund some of these shelter areas from the funds that are currently available to the city and county, and with some of these reimbursements that have been mentioned coming from the federal level. But again, just in short, yeah, the focus has been federal and not much on the state level resources. Whether they have been asked or been offered to be made available to them is not terrifically clear from anything I've seen.
I've heard also from some of my friends that they'd like to go downtown and maybe go see a play or some kind of venue over at the plaza or at the civic center, but they're afraid to go down there now. Because they're going to get out of their car, they're going to have to walk through, and they're going to have to a bunch of illegals wandering around. So that's also going to hurt El Paso, our businesses downtown.
Let me just put it this way. I understand the concern, and that release that did happen earlier this week, that 100 or so released in downtown El Paso after the local nonprofit community that deals with this issue was not able to accommodate the need that was coming from ICE and CBP and the federal agencies involved in it. That was a one-off. It is not a standard procedure for that to happen, though I will say I was downtown actually two days ago. And was downtown right next to San Jacinto Plaza, actually, for an event here. I mean, during the day, if that's a concern for you, but that I saw things down there. Things seem to be operating more or less as normal. So I do not personally share that concern. If you have concerns about the way we're managing this, sure, that is something we could talk about and should talk about. And if we see further impacts and we're just seeing mass releases without any coordination with any agencies, yeah, that would reach a level of concern where I would start to share it at that point. But to the point of what El Paso and downtown specifically is looking at right now, that is not what I have seen.
You wouldn't have any concerns about going downtown at night and wandering around.
Not beyond the usual. I mean, we've talked at length previously about general issues and concerns and self-awareness and situational awareness. So not anything beyond the normal is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how long is it going to be before somebody's going to have a problem? And then what do our city leaders do, or our county leaders do? Another thing. This is not well thought out. These people don't. Sort of like COVID. They don't have a clue how to handle this stuff and everything. We're getting no direction from these people at all, except for a lot of platitudes.
In short, yeah, this is something that is going to need to keep being worked on, because without no state of emergency declared yet, again, from El Paso's local officials, I guess I will say, But, I mean, if this isn't managed right, yeah, this could incredibly easily get out of hand. I mean, the last time this happened back in, I think I misquoted it yesterday as 2019. It was 2018, right around Christmas season, if not immediately in the days surrounding it. So that was not great by any stretch of the imagination. In this most recent similar situation, not great either. And so managing this and making sure it can be held with, and one further clarification, since it was brought up yesterday, that there was going to be 18,000 people able to be processed here. That was the entire border. So if we're being outstripped by that just here, yeah, without proper management, we're going to be up a certain creek without a very necessary paddle.
Yeah, and you know, a little bit of forethought on this thing might go a long way for, you know, to take care of the people of El Paso instead of helping the people across that are coming across the border illegally, and taking our resources and all the other things that are good and destroying our country, basically.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm sorry, I call them what they are. They're illegal. Okay, they're not undocumented. They're illegal.
I mean, you're of course entitled to your opinion on that, and phrases do vary, but let me just say this. I mean, I have long been calling for less reactive and more proactive work on this, and we are, at this point, I don't see from any level of government, I don't care what you're talking about, not much of that. I know some give the state more credit, and there's a level of it, sure, but it seems that we are still primarily in a reactive mode to all of this, and not much, I guess, as you were kind of calling for, being more focused and forethought, because forethought is definitely a part of being proactive in dealing with the situation, forestalling some of this. But, well, we're in the midst of it now, and I'm hoping, and we'll keep talking about it, how we can navigate through it in the meantime. So thank you very much for the point in the call. All right, we got to hit that next break right now. Coming out of this break here, we get to more calls, more commentary, all the stuff going on. I know we're talking a lot about local here, but we will take on any subject here. If you want to call in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Still got some delays on the border highway eastbound at Padres Drive from that earlier crash, but things have improved drastically. All lanes are back open. Just the right shoulder is blocked. Expect some light delays there. Pebble Hills Boulevard eastbound at Joe Battle southbound. You've got an injury accident there. A crash with injuries and paramedics on the scene. Edgemere Boulevard eastbound at the Loop. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Brake Masters.
Quit staring at your phone. Just leave it alone and get the Brake Masters. Get your tires aligned, then get out there and see what you can find. Get your vehicle in Brake Masters shape today. Download coupons and schedule an appointment from your smartphone.
Brake Masters. We give you an honest break.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, Old West collectibles, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com.
You know about their great deals on windows and doors, and now the Window Depot has everything for your complete home remodel. The Window Depot is a one-stop warehouse with the lowest prices and biggest inventory on in-stock laminate, butcher block, granited quartz countertops, plus flooring and tile to finish your project. They also offer a huge selection of in-stock cabinets, or their designers can special order your cabinetry in a variety of colors and styles. Stores are open Monday through Saturday, but they also offer online ordering and no contact delivery. The Window Depot, more than a window store.
Talk El Paso, bringing you the big stories and impacts on the borderland every weekday at 4, brought to you in part by Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon, official hair and beard sponsor of the show. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Wondering if the COVID vaccine is right for your child? If you can trust it? I'm Ernest Grant, President of the American Nurses Association, and we want you to know we trust the COVID vaccines. For ourselves, for our patients, for our kids. So should you.
We can do this. Find a vaccine near you at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life.
Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife for more information.
Have you or someone you know been impacted by a drunk or drugged driving crash? MAD is here to help. At MAD, they provide services at no cost for the victims, like emotional, judicial, and access to financial support. Call 1-877-MAD-HELP.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Short time this segment, so I'm just going to use this time to remind you, Free for All Friday is what we're doing today. Then you can call in and comment throughout the program, and we'll get to as much as possible, whatever we can cram into the 2 hours we get today. And a lot of comments coming in here right now, but also, just as a gentle reminder, early voting going on right now. Now, not all the people we're talking about here on the ballot at this exact moment, but it sets up some of those races coming in November, which they will be. And also, just prove people you're paying attention and not just ranting and raving into the void. I mean, that's not unuseful, but seriously, take the time, go out and vote if you can, please. You also get your chance on Tuesday, but that's election day itself here. So a lot of stuff going on there. We'll get back to more of our comments and calls after this break and the top of the hour news here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Still got some delays on the border highway eastbound at Padres Drive from that earlier crash, but things have improved drastically. All lanes are back open. Just the right shoulder is blocked. Expect some light delays there. Pebble Hills Boulevard eastbound at Joe Battle southbound. You've got an injury accident there. A crash with injuries and paramedics on the scene. Edgemere Boulevard eastbound at the Loop. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso. Ivan Ochoa here, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Once again, we were El Paso's #1 dealer in Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in April. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas.
The Memorial Day sales event starts now at Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. And there's never been a better time to get more for your old car, truck, or SUV. Even if you owe thousands more than it's worth, we want it. So you can save big on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory. 2022 Ram 1500 trucks with 0 APR for 60 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer full-size SUV with third row seating. 0 APR for 60 months. 0 payments for 90 days. Plus, we have aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $16.67 per thousand financed. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A judge is keeping Title 42 in place for the time being. A Louisiana judge is keeping his injunction in place for the policy that's been used nearly 2 million times to deny migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. due to COVID restrictions. If the injunction had been lifted, the Biden administration was expected to end the policy. Wall Street is flat at the close after the S&P 500 briefly fell into bear territory. Stocks trimmed losses in late trading as recession fears continued to rattle markets. The S&P 500 recovered earlier losses to finish just in the green. At the closing bell, the Dow gained 8 points to 31,261. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby says the situation is constantly changing in Ukraine.
They have made some incremental progress in the Donbass. It is incremental. It is slow. It's uneven. And the Ukrainians continue to push back.
He was pressed on who controls what at this time. The Pentagon confirmed another weapons shipment to Ukraine this week, costing $100 million. Hillary Clinton agreed to share since debunked data on a link between Russia and Donald Trump in 2016. That bombshell testimony came today from her former campaign manager, Robbie Mook, in a trial involving a Clinton campaign lawyer accused of lying to the FBI. The Johnny Depp defamation trial is on break until Monday. Rebecca Hughes reports.
Testimony wrapped up for the week Thursday, with jurors hearing from several witnesses about Depp's character and his use of drugs and alcohol. The Pirates of the Caribbean star is suing ex-wife Amber Heard, saying her claims of domestic violence have hurt his career. She is countersuing. I'm Rebecca Hughes.
An Alabama inmate back in custody after more than a week on the run is being ordered to provide a DNA sample. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A former Marine held captive in Russia says he was held in a psychiatric treatment facility. Speaking to CNN for a special that's airing Sunday, Trevor Reed said all he and others in the cell had for a toilet was a hole in the floor. Reed finally came home last month after nearly 3 years, thanks to a prisoner swap. He was accused of assaulting a police officer and was given a 9-year sentence. A gun stolen in Alaska more than 4 decades ago turned up at a middle school in South Carolina. Sarah Bartlett has the story.
3 guns were confiscated by authorities this week at Sedgefield Middle School, and 4 students are facing charges. One of the guns was reported missing to Alaska state troopers in March of 1978. It's a Colt Police .38 caliber, which was reported stolen from the Alaska Highway Patrol in Anchorage. It's still unclear how the gun got to South Carolina all these years later. As for the students, they were taken to the Department of Juvenile Justice in Columbia by Berkeley County Sheriff's deputies.
New York's Attorney General is warning residents about summer rental scams and fraud. Liz Warner reports.
With millions of New Yorkers headed off on vacation, AG Letitia James's office is warning everyone to be mindful of scammers misrepresenting rentals or online listings of properties that don't actually exist. She says New Yorkers should always verify their hosts, make sure the photos are accurate and not stolen, communicate through the listing sites before booking, and never make wire or cash payments. Residents on vacation should always be vigilant in a business that's now rife with fraud, and she's asking anyone experiencing summer scams to contact her office immediately.
Michael Vick is coming out of retirement to play fan-controlled football. After a controversial career, Vick played his last professional game in 2015 and officially retired 2 years later. Hall of Famer Terrell Owens also plays fan-controlled football, and his success has prompted Vick to come back to the game. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Grand. That's grand. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag. Wendy's Biggie Bag is still just $5. Get a double stack junior bacon cheeseburger or crispy chicken BLT plus 4-piece nugs, small fries, and a small drink. Grab your bag at Wendy's today. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Available now from iHeart, returning for Season 3, is The Restless Ones, an original podcast presented by T-Mobile for Business and iHeartRadio. Join me as I sit down for in-depth discussions with the people at the intersection of technology and business. You'll learn how each of these leaders is building a bridge to what's next and leveraging transformative technologies like 5G to create a more connected and meaningful future today. Listen to The Restless Ones on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690, KTSM, an iHeart radio station.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopRex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media outlets we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Those places are good for a variety of reasons. Hey, it's another way to make sure you can tune in for us, but also the comments that come in throughout the show, well, are often interesting, shall we say. The Facebook page, primarily facebook.com/Talk El Paso, still more or less the main one. That's where the Skeptic Squad lives for the most part, and the Thunderdome comments shows up more or less every day. A lot of comments coming in right now. Maria Coleman, RJ Flaco Jimenez, John Brazelton, RJ, Calvin Williams, James Ratcliffe, and more tuning in, chiming in over there. Some earlier, Catherine Codry, if I missed that, as well as dropping those reactions on the Facebook page. We do appreciate Calvin Williams, Robert Haynes, Ted Kors, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. Just helps with all those things that, well, support our mission and having more of the discussion and more people involved in the discussion about what affects us here in the borderland. A little bit wider than that today, as we usually do on Fridays. Free-for-all Fridays are what we do, and that means we will take on any subject and take all of your comments and calls as much as we can cram into 2 hours of the show. I can't believe we're already down the first hour here. So, again, that number to call if you want to call in that way, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to do so there. Don't forget, we do have those talk back and pound 250 calls that we'll be getting to here ever so shortly. So if you want to make sure you got those on deck, just for the talk back, just make sure you got the iHeartRadio app, and you'll be well, and find us on there. Make sure you can listen to us, and you're well on your way. Catherine Codry pointing out that, yeah, diesel fuel prices have skyrocketed in the past few weeks, something we're working on for you for future shows here. And Maria Coleman saying that if we had an engaged mayor, there would be a solid plan. Local officials seem content with the status quo. Escobar, Samaniego, and the mayor need to abandon political rhetoric and start supporting the needs of their constituents. I mean, they have said previously that they had a plan in place and that they were going to be ready. That plan certainly being put into test right now with all of this commentary, and issues we are dealing with here. But let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Nate on the east side here with us right now. Nate, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, Andrew, and for having me. I'll just be about a minute or so. But anyways, I just want to say good afternoon, everyone in El Paso. And the reason I just want to encourage everyone as we wrap up this week to just reflect on how many things that we have to be grateful for in life. And certainly I'd like to just chime in for just a bit. You know that coming up on Monday is the Memorial, the upcoming week following now, it will be Memorial Day. And, of course, on Saturday, we will be out decorating the Fort Bliss National Cemetery, which is right here in our community. El Paso is known for having more veterans per capita than is any city in the United States. There's a lot of other blessed things that we can be doing in this city. So let's get out. Let's embrace our city, our community, our neighbors, and just be the best that all we can be in all these turbulent times. It can weigh you down, and we're just saying to be lifted. And let's get out in the elements and just appreciate. We got the mountains, the parks, all kinds of things. But do join us on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. at Fort Bliss National Cemetery to assist with putting out approximately 45,000 flags one for every headstone. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Andrew, for this time. There'll be more to follow up. We'll be in touch with you soon, early next week.
Absolutely here. And yeah, just want to reiterate that because we had a question come in after last time you mentioned this, what time that is. So gathering 8 a.m. right there at the Fort Bliss National Cemetery.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. God bless. Have a great one.
You as well here. Because, yeah, getting out. Okay, Fort Bliss National Cemetery isn't the best place to do, but there's a phrase, touch grass, that often I find a bit persuasive. Essentially, that there's a lot of ways to use, but the way I take it is that get out, get an experience like nature, experience the real world for a minute, because I don't know about you all, but this place where I'm in, broadcasting from right now, there are no exterior windows in this whole side of the building. I have to go, walk a few minutes that way to actually find a window to the outside world. That's more or less by design. I mean, these are insulated studios, and the idea of there being, extra expense to have a view outside, as much as I would appreciate it, I understand what it's not in place. But point is that it can be very easy, again, speaking just personally right now, if you find this relevant to yourself, so much the better, that's really easy to forget about everything else and get really ingrained. It's almost a literal physical metaphor here that I'm dealing with, that if you don't get out and make the effort to get out, it's real easy to just feel cooped up and get stuck in your own ways and only what you can see. So fully encourage getting out and doing something if you can here. Mark Rios wondering if property valuations have been discussed this free-for-all Friday. Not just yet, so welcome to bring it up if you want to as well. Calvin Williams saying on his own that I've heard the squeaky hinge gets the oil. Problem is that oil costs much, and people are squeaking to people with no oil. A little bit of a stretch in the metaphor there, but I think I get what you're getting at here. That sure, it used to be real easy to just dump a barrel on someone, but now you're going to be paying out the you-know-what in order to do so. And accusing me of doing my own thing of sensory deprivation. Look, if you want y'all making sure that you actually are calling in and tuning in here, I would just be, there wouldn't be much identifiable difference except for the technology present here between me and a person in a nice padded cell is all I'm going to say here. But let's go back to those phone calls. Again, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Here's 5 quick things that could be done to make America better. Add 4 more members to the Supreme Court. The more brains, the better. The more diversity, the better. After all, Moscow Mitch and the Republicans unconventionally packed the court. The Supreme Court needs to be rebalanced. Add Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico as states to make the Senate more representative, rather than having a situation where you have 23 states with 40 million people living in them, having 46 senators, while California, with 40 million people, only has 2 senators. That's highly undemocratic and unrepresentative. And the filibuster, it's not in the Constitution, and it thwarts the will of the majority, replacing it with the obstruction of a minority. And the Electoral College, it's an anarchistic, undemocratic remnant of slavery that has resulted in the rule of the minority over the majority 2 times in my lifetime. That is a recipe for divisiveness. And Citizens United, and the purchase of the best politicians and policies money can buy. Require presidential candidates to release their income taxes. Require presidential candidates to undergo a physical administered by government doctors and the results released to the public. Prohibit felons from running for president. Now back to the Supreme Court. The January 6th Congressional Committee has gotten possession of Ginny Thomas's phone records. Uncle Clarence Thomas has to go. He's guilty of massive conflicts of interest in cases involving his wife. Ginny Thomas was involved in planning the January 6th protest and was calling Trump insiders about schemes to overturn the election. The chairman of the Democratic House-led Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol has recommended that it invite Ginny Thomas to appear. That should be great TV. And conservative lawyer John Eastman, the architect of the strategy to overturn the 2020 election, has said in a court filing that he dealt directly with President Donald J. Trump and received handwritten notes from him as the men sought to keep Mr. Trump in power. So I'll end with this. Do you think Trump was responsible for the attack on the Capitol?
I feel like we've been around this bend a few times here, but in short, no. Did he potentially, I mean, he was literally at the rally that preceded it here and was very much doing the rhetoric that you expect and fits with what had come out of that whole presidency here. So was he unhappy at the initial idea of people literally causing a riot on his behalf? I mean, we elected a reality TV star as a president here. I don't think people should be surprised that attention and people paying attention to these issues was ever so important to him. But I think it was pretty clear by the end of it that him and the people around him, that once we started seeing, I don't know, shots being done in the Capitol, I mean, that was one of the biggest things of that days that really stood out to me. And when I was explaining to some of our people around here why we needed to break in and do a change in our live broadcast that day, that was a serious and significant issue. And I don't think that gravity was lost on the former president or those around him, even if he had other political goals surrounding it. But so in charge of it, no. Whether those clearly around him planning on certain things, yes. This is why from the beginning I have said a full investigation into this is very warranted. I just have continuing concerns about, well, how the January 6th committee, if they are going for show over substance on this, because oftentimes the best investigative things you can do, either in terms of actual, the stuff we do on this kind of program and with our news partners, or in the more legal sense here, don't make the best theater, so to speak here. And the best theater often doesn't really cover as an investigation. So they're trying to balance those two ends with this. I think they're going to achieve neither and get neither anyway. So in short answer to your question there, no, but the devil, as always, is in the details here. Tell you what, that's going to take us through our next break right now. So thank you for the point in the call there, but we'll get to more here after this break. We got calls in the line, more comments coming in, and we'll get to all of that we can throughout the rest of this program here. So again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Police and medical on the scene at an injury accident. Gateway Boulevard northbound at Sean Haggerty. A stalled vehicle is blocking the right shoulder. Border Highway eastbound at Zaragoza. Accident reported George Dieter northbound at the 10 Gateway. A disabled vehicle blocking the left shoulder. Gateway Boulevard southbound at Alameda Avenue. And a crash reported Chelsea Street at El Paso Drive. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has your workplace covered with furniture and organizational items curated by Staples Work From Home Style Squad. Now get 25% off storage and filing products, chair mats, decor, and lighting with the purchase of a desk or office chair. In-store only. Offer ends 5/28. Staples, the working and learning store.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic. But if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. Regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is a leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screening starting at 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
And does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code AUTO for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's promo code AUTO. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code AUTO for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code AUTO for a $5 bonus.
We're here talking to one of the fastest growing invasive species in Texas.
Hi, I'm Giant Salvinia, nasty invasive species. I double in size every week.
I understand you destroy Texas lakes and ruin fishing.
Oh yeah, that's my thing.
And that would be why boaters, fishermen, and skiers hate you.
Yep, but they do give me rides from lake to lake.
Folks, Giant Salvinia clings to boats, trailers, and gear. So remove even the smallest piece and put it in the trash.
Don't tell them that!
Hello, Giant Salvinia. Goodbye, Texas lakes. A message from Texas Parks and Wildlife.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. Be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of commentary coming in from all of those pages here, both on some of the callers, some of the issues, some of the things we're talking about here. Catherine Croder saying Puerto Rico doesn't even want to be a state. I mean, okay, let's just say this. If we're going to truly have, words having meanings and importance to them, if we're going to add any states, it needs to either be 1 or 3, because that way will make us either 51 states or 53 states, a prime number, and truly therefore living up to the phrase, one country, indivisible. Okay, a little bit math joke here. Anyway, a lot of comments coming in about this, including about the courts. Ted Core saying even the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg was against adding justices to the court here, and a whole lot more. They're also mentioning that the Senate was designed to have 2 representatives each state, and only 2 here. One comment coming in, Billy Crossland asking, whenever engage in challenge role in his scripted talking points here. Well, I know I get a lot of flack for how we deal with a lot of our different callers and commentators on this, but we've already dealt with a lot of some of these things here. We brought up a longtime listeners of the show may know that the previous time that was really a sincere idea of having more justices added to the Supreme Court was back in 1936, to my knowledge, here under Roosevelt during one of his first administration here, and he wanted to see a lot more justices on the court here. I think allegedly as many as 15 on the court is what he was advocating for. And I know this because, well, I look in weird history things, and that one kind of was like, wait, what? That was a concept at the time? And the political fight that caused. I mean, it was really, some really great editorial cartoons back in the day on this point here about the unsurprising just barnyard brawl that essentially caused, not in the literal sense, though. There have been times in our history when there have been literal beatings happening on the floor of Congress, but that's a separate subject here. But so the idea of all these talking points being therefore fully recognizable and able to be, completely debated on their own. I mean, I also trust some of our callers and commentators to speak their piece about it. That's, again, kind of the beauty of what we do here. I mean, I call my shots because, I mean, I do think some things are ridiculous, but I also do tire of repeating myself sometimes. But just the simple idea of you're able to say your piece and then other people are able to respond to it. I like to leave as much room as possible for that here. So let's get back to more of the calls on the line here for that point. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Rick in the Sacramento Mountains on the line here with us. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much, Andrew. Again, thank you for the show and you being on this platform, giving people the 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. Yes. I wanted to say about what you mentioned. We've gone over this again. That is, again, typical Democrat. Redundant, repeating, psychosis, fool of a Raul. That's what we hear. That's the Democrats' play game. Point finger here, point finger there. And right in the backyard, everybody's coming in. Everybody's coming in our country. This is pure truth. If there is no borders, there's no country. Then there's no citizenship. That's it. If there's no country, there's no borders. There's not. It's like your doors are all open in your house. No fence. Everybody just comes in. There's no house really for you. There's nothing. There's no sovereignty. So people understand. No borders. Everybody just comes. Citizenship doesn't matter.
The entire concept of countries as we know them today, there's often a concept called the Westphalian idea of borders, because it may recall in previous centuries, heck, even in part of the nascent history of this country and even the recent history. We've talked a bit on some of our other programming about, say, the Mexican Revolution and the Mexican-American War. The idea of frontiers used to be in place. Of course, the idea that there were these edges of influence here that no one really controlled, but were otherwise more or less recognized to be under spheres of influence unless someone actively wanted to invade and occupy with their own military forces being one thing. But in the modern realm, in the modern world that we live in, this idea of borders having meaning and having purpose and being something enforceable, and that, sure, you can do whatever you want within your own borders to a certain degree before the international community starts getting ticked at you, but that once you start crossing borders, once you start coming across them and impacting those in their own sphere, in their own country, well, that's essentially the entire point and major argument beyond, of course, the military conflict going on in Ukraine right now. Russia is essentially trying to argue that, no, this is actually within our borders, and Ukrainians and most of the rest of the world here, Western hemisphere anyway, arguing, no, that's not your country, get the hell out. So yes, borders are certainly important because, yeah, if you can't enforce them, then you're at best regressing into what you're able to actually do and maintain as a country.
Exactly. It leaves everything to be demolished. Everything falls apart. It's like you're having a form around a building. If you don't have the right foundation, well, it falls apart. So that's what's going to happen. Just 2 days ago, a friend of mine, Steve, he came out on Facebook. I don't want to, put his last name, but
no, sure.
He puts his face. He got jumped downtown. He got mugged. I never really heard anybody in my whole life of 62 years getting jumped downtown. Now there was that invasion that's happening. I'm almost positive. I haven't talked to him and I haven't related. Like, who were they? Were they immigrants? Were they people that you never, didn't look like from the invasion? I got to ask him. I feel very high percentage that they did it to him. Everybody's going to be affected.
Won't necessarily disagree with you on that point. The idea of there being wide-ranging impacts from this is, well, pretty obvious, because if this is not handled correctly, I will fully agree that there are the potentials for this and other bad situations to continue on. As much as we have, these concepts against, I know Texas has passed certain things on, like in other states, urban camping is a way to clamp down on people being in places they're not supposed to be in cities, and those have their own debatability to it. But all of this is opened up if we don't have better actual policies in place. And so, yeah, Title 42 is, of course, the major point of the moment. But again, the fact that it's come down to this is its own kind of sad situation, because it's barely policy. It's not policy. I don't feel at all uncomfortable in saying that, because it is, seriously a problem. And leaving it there, well, it's never going to work out unless we can truly move past it. So thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it here. Trying to squeeze in another one here before we hit this next break here right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. One comment I want to address here real quick. Fred Marquez saying that this host will never engage or challenge the full role on his scripted talking points here. I don't think you've been listening, my dude. Because, sure, we give people reason and space to say their piece, particularly on Friday, and that's the whole name, and free speech is a very important thing to us. But let me just introduce you to a novel concept: responding yourself. Because if you find yourself disagreeing with something on this show, okay, we don't do this program in regards with any other thing on our air. We're not in response to, we're not in conjunction with, we're not a replacement of anything else. We trust our other very competent hosts here on this station to do their own things, but we also, do things a little bit differently in our own way, in that you can respond. So if there's something that you got a burning comment, question, or response on, you're welcome to call in. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. But this show is not here to enforce my viewpoints on everyone. The entire point is discussion, which is why we do this and everything else we do. So welcome to the show. Hope you stick around. Let's go to the phone lines right now. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. In two recent lawsuits, one against the Biden administration over the border security, one was from Florida and the other one is the state of Texas. It was revealed by Homeland Security that since January of 2021, over 1 million illegal immigrants have been released into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. That does not include the getaways,
Right.
people or people that were smuggled into the country without border patrol and other immigration and customs enforcement being aware of. In other words, we don't know how many more are got in the country illegally.
I mean, yeah, that estimation has, I know that 11 million often gets pointed out here as, well, that has existed and been estimated in previous years, previous decade, really, if you want to get technical about it. So the actual number where it stands now has been difficult to pin down, but probably in the millions higher than that now.
Yes, sir. And as for that Raul fellow, I need to say, I'm sure he would like to see all of those points implemented, since they have no probative value for the country as a whole, except to keep the Democratic Party in power. For instance, getting rid of the Electoral College, if you want the popular vote, well, then the presidential election would be decided by the people of New York, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Forget about the rest of the country. Your vote, you could cast all the votes you want, but you'd have those cities deciding who was going to be the next president of the United States.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say I have my gripes with the way we have the Electoral College now, because it's already somewhat of a watered down system, because initially there was no direct election of the president, that there was no informing even of the electors. They were selected by the state legislature and then went on to make their own decision here. So there was a kind of second order, I guess, selection process by those that were actually doing the voting, but it wasn't anywhere near as direct. That's what one of the more recent amendments actually did do, was changing that formula. So if it just, when the argument comes down to the idea that, well, this is what the founding fathers intended, we've already changed it pretty significantly from that. So if the vestiges of it there, simple answer, I don't expect it to go anywhere anytime soon, because of the very nature that anyone that comes into power using that system, therefore, doesn't have much of an impetus to change anything about it. Same thing, of course, with the filibuster and those similar things, that anyone who has the power under those systems is therefore the power to change it. And therefore, I don't see, without anything seriously out of the norm happening, that going anywhere anytime soon.
Understand. And basically, we have an excellent system of governance in our country. You know, the separation of powers and everything that occurs in both houses. You know, you have two, the Senate, and you have the Congress, the House of Representatives, and it's designed like that, you know, to keep each other in check. So I think we have a pretty good system in place.
I mean, it definitely has some advantages over many different ones. I still think that, I mean, the Constitution, with the ability to have it amended, has not been done well within a generation or two here, if you really want to call it that. And I think a lot of the things that we might need actually to function further would go beyond any difference, beyond any of the changes we have seen previously within the Constitution. I'm not sure we're being served very well by single member representation districts anymore, but that's a whole nother show. But the simple fact of the matter is that, yeah, we have a pretty good system that has a lot of advantages. There are, I still think, some things that our founding fathers had not the ability to conceive of being needed in this day and age. I mean, when they were talking about free speech, they were thinking about, well, the literal town square and the printing press. They have no idea of the implications coming from things like, well, radio stations, much less the internet. So the idea of updating it and making sure it stays current with what people actually need these days is a pretty powerful one in my mind.
Understood. Well, it's still a pretty good system. I think a lot of countries would want to have our system of government. But anyway,
a lot of models
on
on it.
Over to you, and thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one there. I mean, a lot of countries are modeled on this whole system. In my reading of history and papers I've done previously back in my academic career, when I was getting my college degree, about the actual system, I mean, it was pretty clear that the founding fathers, almost immediately after the creation of the current Constitution, after the replacement of the Articles of Confederation, realized, oh, shoot, we didn't contend with the idea of political parties because essentially the idea from them was that every individual elector and even every individual citizen, voting member of the body politic would be a party to themselves. Not exactly an island, but making their own decisions and therefore coming together to finalize the vote here. And that's why, among other things, in like the farewell address and the, well, also kind of counter argument to that from the whole Federalist, anti-Federalist arguments in the Federalist Papers, that there was pretty immediately this conglomeration of parties and that. And I think that was about one of the major oversights, well, beyond the whole three-fifths compromise, but founding fathers recognized that was an issue at least, but just kind of kicked the can down the road here. But the history that informs our current situation is interesting, but dealing with what we got currently on the ground is absolutely an important one to realize what we got to deal with here. So we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more of the comments, more of the calls, more of everything that we do on this program, which is discussing what affects us here in the borderland and a whole lot more since it is, of course, Friday. Free for All Friday is on tech, taking all those comments and calls, yes, even the ones I disagree with, in case you were wondering about how this works, because that's what we do here and we'll continue to do so. So that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention plans to end Title 42 on May 23rd. Now, what started as an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19 across the border has turned into a fierce debate. Immigrant rights groups gathered in downtown El Paso yesterday. Many say the Biden administration has failed to overhaul the immigration system, and they also spoke out against Governor Abbott's stance on security at the southern border. Police are investigating reports of two men firing assault rifles near a park in Socorro. Police say the reports came in at around 1:30 Thursday afternoon. A pair of men were seen walking around Maro Rosas Park with rifles in hand. The men were seen firing multiple rounds into the air. The suspects did leave the scene before police could arrive. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Not quite done with our Friday commute here in El Paso. I-10 westbound at Mesa Street, exit 11. Got an injury accident with police on the scene. Gateway Boulevard southbound at Alameda. A stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder. In the Low Valley, an accident reported I-10 eastbound at the East Lake on-ramp. And police responding to a crash at George Dieter northbound at Edgemere Boulevard. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. I hope you enjoyed the work week. Now, as we get into our overnight on Friday, winds will continue. In fact, they'll be gusty, especially for the east side, with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. Those winds should begin to die down by sunrise. But by the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday, those winds will pick up and become breezy yet again. Good news, though, with a cold front arriving this weekend, we can welcome back the mid-80s.
This report is sponsored by the Ad Council. Okay, dads, it's time to do the Cabbage Patch, the Running Man, or something more contemporary, the Floss. Dance like a dad. Learn more at fatherhood.gov. Sponsored by the Ad Council.
As a marketer, you want to reach everyone, adults, teens, millennials, but it's not like these groups all hang out in the same place, right? Actually wrong. They're all right here, listening to radio commercials just like this one. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM/FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Wondering if the COVID vaccine is right for your child? If you can trust it? Want to know what a healthcare professional would say? I'm Dr. Ada Stewart, Board Chair, American Academy of Family Physicians. We want you to know it's important for all children 5 and older to get a COVID vaccine because we know that millions of cases of COVID have been in kids. You can trust the COVID vaccine for yourself and for your kids. I do.
We can do this. Find a vaccine near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Quit staring at your phone. Just leave it alone and get to Brake Masters. Get your tires aligned, then get out there and see what you can find. Get your vehicle in Brake Masters shape today. Download coupons and schedule an appointment from your smartphone.
Brake Masters. We give you an honest break. This report is sponsored by Brake Masters.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates.
Travis's legacy lives on through the words he spoke before his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. And through TMF, these words can live in you too. Show the world what you're made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We got a lot of stuff that we tackle more or less every day on this program, but of course Fridays are special in that we will take on any subject. If you want to bring it up here, a lot of comments coming in on those over on our social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, Calvin Williams, Catherine Cotry, RJ, Fred Marquez, Raul, Francisco Amaya, and more tuning in, chiming in over there. Ted Kors, James Radcliffe, Billy Crossland. Let me just say, you're entitled to your opinion, but if you're coming on here, well, you better be prepared to defend it, among other things. And we, of course, encourage free speech in, most of its forms here. Still don't can't do those deadly words if you're calling in, because we got to boo check, because we have regulations we have to follow. But we certainly encourage the expression of your concern on all of these things. So, again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. If you're calling in the middle of a segment, you might be put on hold for a bit, so just stay by the phone there. A couple of times today already, I have someone try to pick up the phone and nobody home. So just keep that in mind here. We, of course, do have those pound 250 calls as well on the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. Just want to mention that again here real quick. Almost ready to launch that. And no, I'm not just trying to be a tease about it, but we got some cues to mark, T's to cross, I's to dot when it comes to that. So again, if you want to find out, make sure you have the iHeartRadio app for yourself on your favorite smart device. And when you find us, if you can listen to this broadcast or anything else on our station here, you're in the right place. You're just going to look for that little red button next at the top of the page, or if you're in the slightly different view there, if you're actually in the player mode for the station itself here, it'll show up a little bit closer to the bottom of the page. But that one with the red mic, and you'll be able to click on that and leave us a message. But let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Johnny in Central with us right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good afternoon. Yeah.
What's on your mind?
I don't need to speak for Raul. He can speak for himself. Boy, I tell you, I really get a kick out of some of your listeners. Boy, I tell you, he's really getting under their skin. That's all I have to say about that. Secondly, or thirdly, however I want to put it, as I said before, I don't look at any of this stuff political. I always look at the leaders as what they're doing for us or not doing for us. But I noticed some of the people when they call in, I could tell they're leaning toward one political party, which means they're either naive or just blind. Because I remember when in quite sure a lot of you guys do, remember when Republicans was Democrats and Democrats were Republicans back in the 60s. And we all know that when Johnson brought along the Voting Rights Act and the housing and so forth, the the Democrats jumped over into the Republican Party. They were Democrats back in those days. So I'm wondering, these people right now, would they still be looking toward that particular party? I'm not happy with our present president with some of the things that he's doing. Mm-hmm. Some of the things he's doing, he's not opening his mouth loud enough. He's not letting us know what he's doing for our country. You have to kind of almost dig into the back page of the newspaper to find out what's going on. And as far as other people coming from other parts of the world, I'm not happy with that either. I wish we could find some kind of control. You heard me say it many times, I'm a veteran, and this city is full of veterans. Mm-hmm. And every time I drive down the street and I see someone standing on a corner with a field jacket on or wearing some type of a military insignia, I know he's probably having mental health problems. He probably don't know how to seek help. But I say take care of our own people first. Get them food, get them housed before we start helping other people come in. Lastly, I've heard people talk about the Supreme Court. I do think something needs to be done about that, because that's the only job in government where they're protected. And if they're protected, they ought to be able to just do the right thing for us. And here we have a Supreme Court justice wife out there was part of the insurrection on January 6th. I don't care what anybody says. And I know what you said to Raul about you don't think Trump instigated this thing. Sure, he didn't leave the Oval Office. Of course he didn't. But as far as I'm concerned, he has been the problem for all these last couple of months of all this racism and everything else that's been going on. I think if Mike Pence had been president and he had lost it as it happened, we would have had the same type of thing that we had all these years, a peaceful concession. Enough said.
Okay. Thank you for the point in the call there. Let me just, there was one further point there that I guess I did want to get to here, but it gets lost a little in the milieu here. When it comes to the Supreme Court here, yeah, they are appointed for life or until they decide to retire and step down. Therefore, the appointment of them is a very important process to consider. I mean, the whole advice and consent of the Senate is an important part here that has gotten, increasingly politicized as just pick a topic, and it also has been. I will say this, the involvement of someone, of course, directly related or in the immediate family of one of these justices is important here, but to say that it's an out-and-out crime for there a conflict of interest to be in place, I mean, Supreme Court justices have recused themselves when these issues have come up in the past, but therefore say it is reason for removal. Let me put it this way. In this business and doing this kind of work and in previous journalistic efforts, have often wondered, okay, what can I do when it comes to political advocacy? And the answer is not much, because anything I'm doing, if I were to do any donations, even have a yard sign in my yard, would bring into question, okay, how is he able to then evaluate these other issues and present them accurately if he is not able to, even keep this out of his life? But that does not professionally anyway necessarily extend to, say, my spouse. I have people in my life that have their own political views, and I am not them. They are not me. So that's at least part of the way I think about this, that, yeah, there might be, again, conflicts of interest, and particularly in someone in such a high position, and even avoiding the semblance of impropriety should probably be pretty important. But that's the way I look at it here, that any justice, they are not their spouses and do not have direct control over all of their actions, even if maybe a little bit, again, a little bit more propriety should be considered here. Some more comments coming in here. James Ratcliffe saying, since Cruz and Cornyn voted for the $40 billion for Ukraine, they're not acting in the best interest of the Texas economy, in my opinion, along with some others here. Calvin Williams saying the percentage of inflation should be considered, should be how much they subtract from elected officials here. So again, thank you for the point in the call here. We'll get to squeeze in a couple more here if we can. We got a few other calls on the line here. Let's start with one right here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
All right, Andrew, happy Friday. This is kind of bittersweet. Love Fridays. The bitter part is got to wait the whole weekend before Monday get to talk to you again. That's very sad. Anyway, my point. Oklahoma just passed the most extreme anti-abortion stuff you could ever imagine. Now, there will be intended consequences to this, and there's nothing out there to adjust for those intended consequences. And my final point, these slime balls, these last three, Gorsuch, Brett Crud, Amy Coney Island, what's her name? I don't know. They all lied at their confirmation hearings. Where are these people not being impeached just because of that? This is a flat lie. Good grief. That's what I want to say.
I think you're referring there to specifically the what essentially has been previously called the litmus test when it comes to abortion here. And if you're saying that they lied, you're entitled to your opinion on that. But having listened to a good chunk of each of those hearings myself here, I would not, and particularly focusing on those sectors here, because I knew this would be coming up an issue, as any keen observer and or constant observer of these things could be said to have seen. They didn't necessarily even say that. Basically, the real popular answer ever since, you want to go to Kavanaugh, even was I don't want to talk about any pending cases that could come forth. I will look at the issues and see what they are, which is why even looking back into further their backgrounds, previous writings, etc., had become so increasingly important. But it had become very much the convention into these hearings, even again, going one further than you mentioned there, that there was not exactly a sidestepping of the issue, but very careful wording. So I wouldn't even necessarily say that they lied specifically on this. This has been, among other things, for national Republicans and the conservative movement overall, an avowed goal for quite some time now.
Yes, I understand that, and I agree with everything you said, except I listened to them also. Specifically, I'm not going to name which one, but he actually said, it was one of them, it is settled precedent, stare decisis. And then he flat goes out and votes for that Alito guy's horrible stuff. Now, come on. I mean, these guys lied. They flat lied, Andrew. I mean, that's it.
I mean, stare decisis, as you mentioned there, the idea that the decision stands, well, rough translation from the Latin there. No, I didn't fully study law or Latin here, but I've been involved and have been covering the Supreme Court at certain points here. They have, of course, precedent has been overturned previously. So we're getting into legalese here is really what it comes down to. So the idea of there being something that, well, they said, well, it is settled law, did not necessarily eliminate the possibility of them saying, and therefore it cannot be overturned. I don't believe they said that part.
Yeah, okay, well, you got a point there, but it bodes for further conversation somewhere down the road. But anyway, you have a great weekend, Andrew. I love your program, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one as well here. I mean, we got a lot we talk about here, and getting into the specifics of all of these things, we'll do the best we can, and we'll continue doing that. We got to take that break right now. I know we got at least one call on the line here right now. We'll squeeze in what we can coming out of this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number, 915-544-5876. Squeezing what we can, but otherwise telling you what we got coming up for you more on the show here in the coming week here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all
I-10
day.
eastbound at East
News
Lake.
Radio
Earlier
690.
crash has got police blocking the right shoulder. Joe Battle Boulevard, northbound at Pebble Hills. Accident there. An injury accident. Gateway Boulevard, northbound at Sean Haggerty Drive. And watch out for an injury accident. George Dieter, northbound at Edgemere. Take Lee Boulevard or Pebble Hills as your alternates. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Check out the Our American Stories podcast, the show where the American people are the star, telling inspiring stories of history, sports, business, faith, and love. And your stories, too. Subscribe on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. Less than 1% of water on Earth is drinkable, and humans are using it faster than nature can replenish it. Reduce the amount of water you use in the bathroom by taking shorter showers and turning the water off while you brush your teeth. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Attend the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, Old West collectibles, and much more. Buy, sell, and trade at the Las Cruces Gun Show this weekend, May 21st and 22nd at the formerly Barnett Harley-Davidson dealership, 2600 Lakeside Drive, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Get $2 off. Go to azgunradio.com.
Shining and strong, healthy and hydrated. Your hair can do it all. So get to Ulta Beauty's gorgeous hair event happening now to see how you can take your hair to a whole new level. Discover beauty steals of up to 50% off hair care must-haves from brands like Lange, Ouidad, and Bumble and Bumble. Plus, amazing deals on Red Ken jumbo-size shampoos and conditioners, just $29.99. This event ends May 28th. Shop in-store, online, or try curbside pickup today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Chances are you're jamming in your car right now. And since Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance, so you only pay for what you need, Limu and I are going to show you some safe car dance moves. Hit it. Everybody, check your blind spots real quick. Now hands on the wheel. Put them 10 in 2 and move your head like a bird do. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, here live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Tell you real quick about a couple things coming up for you. Of course, we have tomorrow, the El Paso History Radio Show, doing something slightly different, a little bit more, I guess, modern history, but still very much focused on impacts here on the borderland, among other things. We're going to be having a conversation with Kevin Lovell, the soon-to-be retired general manager of KVIA TV, looking back on his 4 decades-plus career, including a lot of it spent in, well, the seat of power there over at that station. So we'll be talking with him about his experience, the changes he's seen over the years, and a whole lot more. So be sure to tune in for that 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM tomorrow. Beer Fest also going on. If you want to find me, I'll be out there 4 to 6 p.m. That happening down near the convention center, going on for about middle of the day, about 1 o'clock. I think it opens each day earlier if you got the VIP passes, but I'll be out there. And then, of course, coming up for you next week on this program, we'll be talking further on things like, well, the supply chain issues, elections. Don't forget to go vote. You better vote here. If you've ever called in or been paying attention here, just come on. It's basic. Anyway, let's squeeze in a quick call here, too, if we can. We do have Stephen on the east side here with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. What's on your mind?
All right. So, yeah, I want to agree a little bit with that previous caller. I think his name was Andrew also. Mm-hmm. Some people do go too far, and if people are pro-life and they are kind of using this leak to start to try to own the libs and, push around the other side, then you're not doing pro-life right. Some reasonable accommodations should be made, birth defects after a certain number of weeks and so forth. And everyone should try to be reasonable when it comes to this issue and not try to be too dogmatic about it. But that's not actually why I called. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to bring up a completely different topic, which was preparedness. So mm-hmm. I think everyone should have some kind of food supply in their home. You can order these stackable water containers on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It comes with some essentially bleach. You put a few drops in. It's good for a couple of years. Everyone should have some kind of emergency supply in their home. I think it's a reasonable thing to do. And if for whatever reason we don't have good water to drink or food for an extended period of months, then you want to be prepared for that kind of situation. I mean, water here out in the desert mm-hmm. might be hard to find. So it's something to think about, and I wanted to recommend that to people.
Absolutely here. I mean, I come from a Boy Scout background, Eagle Scout myself, and be prepared is a motto that I didn't just leave during my Scout experiences, one that I find very persuasive in a lot of ways I think about it. So yeah, if you're one of those people, because I have people I know out there that are like this, that have like 3 canned goods on the shelf and maybe a bottle of water under your car seat, maybe reevaluate that, particularly even just in light of what's going on with those supply chain situations. Having your own personal bulwark against whatever the vagaries of supply lines may be is an incredibly smart idea.
Yeah, and now's the time to do it, not when things get ugly.
Absolutely here. So thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. Always a good reminder here. I think we can squeeze in one more quick one. We have Marco over in Central. Marco, we got about 30 seconds.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there.
Let me get to the point real quick. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell Raul and all the Democrats, all the liberals in El Paso, understand this. I can't put abortion into my gas tank, okay? Because it just doesn't work that way. I can't do anything if inflation's out of control because they have a president who just doesn't understand what's going on. He shakes the hand of the air. The Easter Bunny has to tell him to go someplace else so he doesn't look foolish. The things that the Democrat Party are doing are just despicable. These people are at the sacrament of just destruction. And so I want to leave you with this for this weekend. Mm-hmm. Everybody in this city, you get what you deserved. When you sit here and you wonder, why are our taxes so expensive? Why is this going on? Because you vote for Democrats, and they don't give a damn about you. I'm not saying that Republicans are any better, but you know what? They're a lot better than the Democrats, and at least they're not going to loot your pocket and leave you poor, because the Democrats don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about your family. They don't give a damn about anything that's going on in this country, because if they did, they wouldn't let things happen the way they are. gas at $6 a gallon, and they're sitting here telling us, oh, January 6th is such a bad thing, the insurrection. Guess what? I can't put insurrection in my gas tank, buddy.
I mean, that's a very important point here. We're going to have to leave it there for today. We are so out of time for this program. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment. We'll get into more of this 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at East Lake. Earlier crash has got police blocking the right shoulder. Joe Battle Boulevard, northbound at Pebble Hills. Accident there. An injury accident. Gateway Boulevard, northbound at Chime.
An iHeart radio station.
At Edgemere, take Lee Boulevard or Pebble Hills as your alternates. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, it's Maura Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
Injunction in place for the policy that's been used nearly 2 million times to deny migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. due to COVID restrictions. If the injunction had been lifted, the Biden administration was expected to end the policy. Wall Street is flat at the close after the S&P 500 briefly fell into bear territory. Stocks trimmed losses in late trading as recession fears continued to rattle markets. The S&P 500 recovered earlier losses to finish just in the green. At the closing bell, the Dow gained 8 points to 31,261. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby says the situation is constantly changing in Ukraine.
They have made some incremental